lump, cluster, or clod. Okay, hello. Mwah, bye, baby. Hello, I'm back. How is everybody doing? How are things? What is that game a clip from? Which clip? Which clip, Kara? Liked public executions. That was Lakeburg Legacies. Yeah, that was a demo. Mm-hmm. Can you type it out pretty please? Lakeburg Legacies. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we had a demo for that a little bit ago. And that just made me laugh a lot. That made me laugh a lot, so. But yeah, that's a new BRB screen. Like I said, I have some stuff, some more stuff that I want to do. And figure that out. But yeah. It was just an idea I had one day. And again, thank you to Josh for helping me, because I was like, I can't figure out how to Photoshop this properly. And he helped me with that. So I'm learning Photoshop and graphic design and stuff like that, but very slowly. Very slowly. Here, while I eat my snack, let's watch this video they put out for Like a Dragon Ishin. Oh, this is just real cooking. I thought it was a thing in the game. I thought it was a thing from the game. This is just really cooking. That's a really nice looking piece of tuna. That is a gorgeous piece of tuna. Me 2 days ago. Damn, I don't think I drink coffee anymore. I think I'm getting too dehydrated even when I drink a lot of water. Jalen, do you know they actually disproved that? Me today doing 2 people's jobs, running the entire walking alone. Damn, I need some coffee. They actually disproved that coffee makes you dehydrated. Like, it shouldn't be all that you drink, but it's not. Like, you're still drinking water. This looks really good. And you put the little nori on it. Lymph nodes are swollen. That happens when I'm dehydrated. It stopped when I skipped coffee a few days. I'm gonna have to say the scientists are frozen. Might not be shipping it something. That's a good trick for that. Turnip and strawberry. Wow, 2 at a time. Okay. Okay, calm down. You don't gotta show off on YouTube. Damn. Strawberry and radishes and turnips. Okay. Oh, now we're getting everything all together. All right, well, listen, that's not what I expected, but you know, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. A pleasant surprise. Yeah, I thought it was going to be about cooking in the game. I'd watched this new trailer for Xenoblade 3, But I don't know anything that's happening in Xenoblade 3, so like it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? It's only 11. I'm so tired. I'm running and walking by myself, and I just want to nap. Close it. Walk and close. Nap time. Walk yourself back to your desk. That's what I say. Boy, I wish. All right. All right. Let's get back. There we go. Let's get back to the game. Let's make sure very quickly that there's not any weird static sound, because now I'm scared forever. Okay. Oh, here, I think we're good. We're good? Thank you, Jalen. All right. So, we can either evacuate the eye, or we can protect the eye. But either way, 12 cycles. Get this plan. Look at that. Look at that 6. Peak beckons you over to a wide mess table where they've set up a terminal. The hours of bleary-eyed work have left you both drained. Peak looks ready to collapse. You slide onto the curved couch beside them, something dark and malevolent filling their screen like an oil stain. I'm sick of looking at this thing. Look again. Peak's eyes seem to glitter in the screen light. Oh, we got a woof. We are full up on stream readers. Goddamn. This isn't what you think, Sleeper. Not by a long shot. You look again at the screen. Leaning close to the dark curved shape, you see its texture. You see whirls and currents like a river. A dark flow, unlike the Shadow Protocol's dark tangle. You know exactly what this is. You've swum in this river, almost drowned in its shifting flow. It's the Gardener's Chorus. The dark cloud that blankets the Greenway's network. The bioorganic morass of a malfunctioning protocol gone vast and strange. The Gardener. Pete glances at you. How did you... They pause. Have you met them? I have. Pete shakes their head. Incredible. And perhaps, but you won't be surprised by what I'm about to propose. Pete meets your eye. Everything I've tried to do to contain the Shadow Protocol has been a failure. It slips through any containment, avoids any countermeasure. That, unfortunately, is an unavoidable fact. And yet, the eye still spins. The Shadow Protocol is being slowed, partially contained. It is spread across the station, as we've seen, but in reduced pockets, in fragments. So I started to look outside of our test cases, outside of those fragments we've been poking and prodding in our little lab. Peak smiles. And look what I found. Peak taps a key on their terminal, and you realize the screen is showing a recording of the data flow inside the eye's networks, sampled from hundreds of points along the Greenway. You watch as a subtle shift occurs at the edge of the flowing dark curve that blankets the Greenway. Something spreading like an ink stain. Somehow darker than black, it bleeds across. The Shadow Protocol. Now watch. Peak eagerly points at the screen. You see something strange. A fizzing at the edge of the shadow, a sparking, and then it's gone. And beneath, for a millisecond, you see into the networks of the Greenway. You're reminded of an image you had forgotten, of pulling a pot from its plant and seeing a bone-white root ball where you expected to see dark soil. The white connections writhe like worms, and then it's gone, the dark flow closing up as quickly as it opened. It dissolved the shadow. Exactly, Peak nods. It protected itself. You think back to your meeting with the gardener, that sense of something old and world and inhuman to its core. Let me hit stream readers real quick. Boop boop. Peak excitedly starts to explain. This is the only chance we have, the only countermeasure we've seen. And the moment it opened, I detected something. Centralized intelligence with the local ID, Gardener. This protocol, this system, whatever it is, can protect its network from the Shadow Protocol. But if it stays in the Greenway, the eye will still fall. The station systems are too exposed, too spread across the hub, the shipyards, the spokes. Pete glances away. The only way to break it open, to spread the entity's network access, Oh. That feels weird. The only way is to break it open. To spread the entity's network access. Expand it somehow. Yeah, that sentence doesn't... I've been inside their Peak. Peak pauses, trying to read your expression. And this gardener, can they help us? You try to remember what that strange being said to you. But all you remember is the feeling of dissolving into that network, the heady mix of growth and decay, the ceaselessness of it. Would they protect the station, or would they simply dissolve it? They might. Peak stands up and walks away a little. They lean against the countertop, their head hanging so low their long hair touches the work surface. You hear them breathing deeply. I don't know, Sleeper. They lift their head. I really don't know. Is a chance. Maybe. They shake their head. You know as well as Peak that this is it. You know it because over the past cycles you've run every simulation, every possibility you can think of and still come up with nothing. You've stared a hole into your screen and dreamt of that black shadow creeping in at the edges of your vision. Peak recognizes the look in your eyes, the potential cocktail of resignation and anger. Let's say we do this. Peak begins, eyeing you carefully. What do we need? They begin to answer their own question, thinking out loud. I suppose we need to do two things. Find a way to limit or control the gardener's spread, and then reconnect the Greenway. Peak starts pacing, the idea coming quickly now. Controlling the spread means preparing the station. Limit the gardener's network to key systems. We don't want it taking everything, we just need to protect the station's core functionality. Then we need to reconnect the Greenway, hook it back up to the main line of the network. Those systems we prepared, they should connect, and Gardener will spread along the paths we prepared. At least that's my theory. But if we don't prepare correctly, the Gardener might spread, or it might spread to everything. He closes their eyes. And after that, things might get worse. Can't be worse than a total collapse. Don't say it, Sleeper. Peak sits back at the edge of the terminal, brings up the map of the eye. Rotational control at the hub, life support at the free spoke, power routing at the Havenage shipyards. They stab at the map with each one, marking them in red. Then there's the central core. As I understand, it's somewhere in the rim. I'll need to find it. They push their hair out of their face. We seed the Gardener in all of these places. Peak pauses. But how are we going to do that? Transplant the Greenway. Peak smiles. Of course. The Gardener needs plants to care for. This is what their protocol dictates. They must have been part of the farming management systems of the Eye, back when Soulline built it. We seed Greenway plants in these systems, and the Gardener will seek them out, protect them. Peak stares at the map of the Eye. It's a wild idea, but it could work. But, they pause. We'll need a way into those systems. Havenage have most of them locked up for security purposes. We can't just walk in. I know a guy. Peak raises an eyebrow. Someone in the Havenage systems team? You nod. After everything he dragged you through, you feel like Feng still owes you. Time to pay him a visit. That mother father. Okay, well, he glances at you sideways. I guess we should pay him a visit. Lead the way. You both leave the ship, carried forward by the excitement of the plan, and an eagerness to not look at the details too closely. You push in lingering questions to the back of your mind. Time to head to Feng's Bay. That mother trucker. He does still owe me. I agree with that. I do feel like he owes me. We'll try it. Okay. You know... All right, much like... Oh, terminal flux. They put that... they put that right there. Okay. I'm gonna use a stabilizer. Get my shit maxed out and ready to go. That extra die will mean a lot. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yo, Mike! Mike, thank you for lurking, buddy. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna spend all these dice. A neutral outcome will give me progress, so... Great. Worth. That's it. No more wasting time. Peek sighs and pulls out their slate. They crack open a box on the side of the bay shutter and wire the slate to what's inside. Maybe your friend has a Havenish pass card or something inside. Peek shoots you a glance. Something they wouldn't mind if we borrow. Let's wait. Peek doesn't look up. We haven't got time to wait. They sigh. Coming here was a mistake. After a few tense moments, the shutter jerks and begins grinding open, the noise making you jump. Let's get inside. Peek glances around. Quickly! You slip into the dark of the bay, punctuated by the blinking lights of Feng's pile of servers, somehow even more disordered than before. Peek makes a beeline for the desk at the center, scattered with tools and components. They flick on a light and stare at the mess. You sure this person can help us? Yes. You're interrupted by the sound of footsteps from the entrance. Someone is coming behind you. Peek freezes. I could swear I closed the shutter when I left. Feng leans on the stack of servers near the entrance. Must be getting forgetful. He grins at you. Feng! The very same. Feng smiles. He raises an eyebrow. Thought you'd come rob an old friend? Is that the plan? We need your help. Feng nods. You're here about the flux. Peek nods and is suddenly giving Feng their full attention. Feng smiles, pleased with themselves. I guessed as much. I saw changes in the old system's architecture almost immediately. Some of them have been running since the first days of the station. So when I saw new patterns, shifts in logic, I knew something must have happened. These past cycles have been doing a total inventory of the core systems, from the hub to the rim. I surprised myself, to be honest. I didn't think I had it in me. Peek seems unamused. What did you find? Feng sighs. That's the thing. There's something. All twisted up in the systems and protocols, but every time I look at it, it disappears. Peek finishes. Feng turns to you. Did they always do that? Peek ignores him. It's a shadow protocol. It masks itself somehow, bedding into the gaps between the systems in the negative space. It's slowly filling every system in the station, slowly taking over. And we need to stop it. You need to grant us access to all the core systems of the station, rotational control, life support. Feng holds the hand. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Slow down there. I don't even know your name. Feng shakes his head. And you're asking for the keys to the castle? Can't be done. Feng, it's me. Feng pauses, glances between both of you. How long have you known this one, Sleeper? I know I owe you, but I also know you trust too easily, sorry to say. He cuts in. I can vouch for myself. I came to the Eye on the run from the XPR colony Hawthorne with the intent of keeping it running until we hit the starboard belt. Since I've been here, I've done everything in my power to protect this place. I've helped stabilize the refugee flotilla, investigate the flux, identify and make a plan to purge the shadow protocol from the station systems. Meanwhile, Havenage has done everything to stop and slow these actions. I've proven myself as a friend of the people of the station, not the administration, many times over, and I'll not be doubted by someone who wears the badge of this corrupt administration. Peak fixes Fang with a hard look. Fang looks down at their Havenage jacket and shrugs. That's all I have in my wardrobe. Look, I have no love for the council either, friend, but someone has to run the place, and that someone is me. Fang walks over to the workbench where you're both standing and digs a slate out of the pile of tools. You want to prove yourself? Show me. Pete grabs the slate and you recognize the tangled form of a flex node on the screen. Pete immediately starts tapping away at it. Its tendrils unwinding, and the shadow, just slightly delayed, slipping out of sight. Fang leans in. Interesting, he says to himself. Before long, Pete has unfolded the system completely, and it lies splayed out like an unwound ball of string. At the center, with nowhere left to hide, is the dark stain of the Shadow Protocol, visible for all to see. What now? Fang asks, his eyes fixed on the screen. How do you kill it? Let Peek answer. Like, yeah, listen, Peek's got this. Peek's got this. There's one entity on the station that we've seen purging the shadow. The gardener. Fang frowns. Who's that, some Greenway hacker? Peek glanced at you. More like an avatar of the Greenway itself. You explain the gardener to Fang, the feeling of descending into the flowing river of consciousness. You explain the network chorus, the non-human collective of voices. You tell him of the farming AI's offer to you to be networked into the chorus, dissolved into its flow. You explain that by granting it access to the AI's major networks, you hope to reinforce them. Fang is silent for a moment. You want to let this thing out? He shakes his head. That's the kind of stupid plan I'd dream up. He pauses. I like it. He smiles. Hang on. Forgot I wanted to get my phone rocking. This place is rammed with weird protocols and forgotten intelligence anyway. What's one more ghost in the machine? We try to limit it, of course, Peek explains. That's why we want your help to access the Eye's major systems. To seed some of the gardener's spores into them, to draw the gardener's focus to these places. Fang whistles. So the way we save the Eye is growing mushrooms in all the server stacks? Glance at you. Sleeper, congratulations, you found someone weirder than you. Pete goes to argue, but Fang holds up a hand. In it is an all-systems Havenage pass card with his picture on it. Take it before I change my mind. Thank you. Don't mention it. Fang gives you a look. In all honesty, Sleeper, I was on my way back here to start tearing the place down. The Shadow Protocol had me spooked. So if you're telling me you figured out a way we might fight it, looks at Peek. No matter how crazy, then I'm glad to help. He smiles a tight smile. Come with us. No, Sleeper. I have to keep on my work here. Straighten those systems, back up the data. Oh, do I not have any more? Oh, well, okay. Oh, and my storage is full. Oh, man, come on. Come on. Pokemon storage is so bad. Alright, whatever. Whatever, then. The worst comes to the worst, I'll need to rebuild. I won't let this place die. The last pieces of my parents are here among the data. Goodbye, Fang. Fang embraces you firmly. Stay safe, Sleeper. Take the card and leave the bay with Peek. Once you're outside, they stop you. We should split up. Peek looks worried. We've wasted enough time as it is. Head to the facilities in the hub, the Free Spoke, and far side of the shipyard. Seed the gardener there. I'm gonna go find the core control center that's somewhere on the rim. You hold up their slate. I'll send you a message on your slate when I have some. Good luck. You squeeze your shoulder and you exchange fearful looks. You know deep down, the Peek isn't sure this will work, but they've decided to act, to move with confidence. And for that confidence, you're very thankful. Okay. So, I am out of dice, so let's see if that scrap ship is in. It's not, but it will be next. So we'll hit up there. We'll hit up there before we get too far. Yes. It gave me a ship mind. It gave me another ship mind piece. Okay, 1 scrap, thanks. Okay. Where? Oh. See, oh, I need spores. Oh, I'm glad I have spores. I'm glad I got spores earlier. Oftentimes acting on an unsure idea is better than just letting things happen. Well, I don't know what that I don't know what that other word you used is. Did it say past the green? It must have been up on the... I used it wrong, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, rotational control. Okay. As you leave, the slate peak gave you chirps incessantly. You check and see a message. Found a possible entry to the core facility in the low end. Meet me here ASAP, peak. A blinking marker gives their position on the free spoke side of the main block. Better head to low end. Prevaricate verb. Speaker acted in a evasive way. Seem to prevaricate when journalists ask pointless questions. Huh. You arrive at the coordinates given by Peak Slate, a run-down but active corner of the low end, where a short, glass-roofed alley turns off from one of the main thoroughfares. You wait in the mouth of the alley, leaning against the wall and watching the street life go by. Children hop across grids scratched on the metal floor plates, playing games of their own devising, while older residents sit and talk or play tabla. It's hard to believe that all of this is a threat. It seems so concrete, so real. How can some intangible protocol erase all this? As you're watching, a voice calls out to you from one of the tabla tables set up along the way. Caster! Yeah! You move a little closer and recognize the sitting player immediately. Caster sits, tabla pieces and board ready in front of him, smiling at you. Sleeper! My partner's not arrived for our usual game. Come, please, take her place. He beckons you over, standing and nudging you to sit down with him. A rematch is in order. You owe me a game. Almost immediately, Caster begins the game. Everyone on the eye knows how to play tabla, the methodical movement of the counters across their triangular points, a ready fit for the rhythm of life on the ramshackle space station. Most games begin in the same way, with each player moving with independence, focused only on achieving their optimal early game setup. But there's a moment in each game when it becomes necessary to notice the other player, to anticipate the crossing of the counters across the board. Point of contact, when routine becomes negotiation, and negotiation becomes conflict. As this moment arrives, the subtle shift in the texture of the interaction, Caster begins to speak. I find myself surprised by you continuously. He looks over his glasses at you. The way you conduct yourself, for example, suggests an anxious refrain, a defensive protective quality. But in your tabla game, he pauses to move a counter. I see only risk. What are you talking about? Risk, Sleeper. I'm talking about risk. Risk is, of course, necessary to play tabla. The move of pieces to expose it. but it should be done with calculation, proper analysis. Then, if the piece is taken, caster moves a counter, taking one of yours with a practice swap, placing it beside the board. It's already accounted for. But you move forward with abandon, as if risk was just a secondary effect of action, a consequence, not its primary guide. He gestures for you to take your turn. A cause. I play my way. He smiles. Indeed. That is all I seek. You move your piece. This locks you into being reactive, if you don't mind me saying so. You're responding, which means you're being led. He leans back to consider the board. This place, it mirrors you, Sleeper. It is also reactive. It is born from a crisis, the collapse of Solheim. And ever since, it has been reactive without any central guiding principle. No analysis, no calculation. Just look at our refugee crisis, for example. It is all reaction, all risk-taking, and little risk calculation. At first I found the chaos enlivening, especially when trying to track its outcomes. But now I find it exhausting. He laughs. It always amuses me that this place is literally spun from the rim. Below this very stack of habitation blocks is the most important control facility on the eye. Spun from the rim. He laughs again. What better metaphor could you find for disorder? His face drops. But why am I telling you that? That facility is precisely why you're here. He smiles an unsettlingly warm smile. You feel a shiver through your body as if something's changed in the air. How do you know about that? No words come out of your mouth. You feel removed from yourself, watching from behind frosted glass. Your eyes dart side to side. Inertia sets in. Caster is still smiling. The risk you're planning to take here, Sleeper, is not yours to take. Caster's tone is unshifted. He speaks as if this is still some casual conversation between passing acquaintances. You're leaping towards a chaotic outcome with no respect for risk. You see calculating outcomes, that's my specialty. That's why I'm here. I was hired as a conduit for risk, as a collector of data that might pertain to its arrival. He removes his glasses to clean them, and you see something flicker across their surface, a shimmering stream of characters. The system, the station, is already theirs. Solheim's collapse meant a corporate fire sale. Assets changed hands. My employers, Senate bought out the entire system, and for the past decades have been its one valid owner. He polishes his glasses diligently. But to possess this system, the H1 system, he pauses, alien to you, well, that is a matter of risk, of how much force, how much cost, how much conflict a clearance would take. He replaces his glasses. That risk must be calculated against the favorable outcome. In short, how much is this place worth to us? For a long time, the answer was nothing. H1 could offer nothing that would warrant the risk. But the markets change, the demands shift. In Setnetstat, we analyze, we follow, we respond. Puts his glasses back on his face. H1 is about to become the most important system in this part of the galaxy. He glances around. The lone can channel operating within a range of 7 or so newly surveyed resource-rich systems. The frontier town that feeds the gold rush, so to speak. So here we are, reevaluating the risk, reclaiming our property, setting up the can channel and clearing the way for what comes next. He sits back looking at the board. He gestures. Your move. Senetstat is causing the flux? You manage to force out the words. Caster looks a little surprised. Senetstat is acting to reclaim their property from a legal occupation, to reestablish H1 as a foremost colony of surrogacy program. Of course, I don't need to explain myself to you, but in my role as an analyst, in my calculations, I see great promise in you, and your ability to enter systems, to shift them to your will. Not every sleeper has this capacity, I assume you know that, he smiles. It truly is a wonderful happenstance of SNR's technology. I imagine they might not fully be aware of it. He takes his move, claiming another of your pieces, and as you watch, you realize the inevitability of his victory. I'll make you an offer. Come willingly, or come by force. The station will collapse, we can be sure of that, but your ability to work with data, well, for an analyst, is very intriguing. He pauses to push his glasses up his nose. Very intriguing indeed. He glances around. Come with me, as a collaborator or as a prisoner. Consider the risk. On one hand, almost certain death. On the other, a possible future. Analyst or not, you must see it. Speak now, Sleeper. The game is forfeit. You must see that. He holds out a hand. You are of value. You are needed. You feel a slight releasing the inertia that grips you. Enough to allow you to speak, to respond. You realize you are already in Caster's hands. You cannot move from this place if you want. Sleeper. You hear a familiar voice above the crowds. Sleeper, I'm here. You're unable to turn your head to see Peak, but you notice Castor's eyes following them as they come up from behind you. Then you see Castor's eyes glance downward towards his hands concealed beneath the table. Sleeper! Peak comes around the front of you and waves a hand to your face. We were supposed to have a meeting, remember? Glance at Castor. Sorry, am I interrupting something? You cannot speak. Castor shoots Peak a wide smile. Hello, you must be a friend of Sleeper. You watch as one of his hands lift, close to his body, some dark shape concealed in it. A weapon. You try to scream to shout, but Castor's attention remains partially on you, and while it does, you can change nothing. Peak glances at your static form. What's going on here? Sleeper? Put a hand on your shoulder. You okay? As Peak stares into your eyes, you see Castor behind, his hand lifting, a dark object unfolding. In the split moment it does, you feel his attention shifting to Peak, shifting away from you. And as you do, you feel the initial lifting, and you know this is the only moment you have to act. You lurch forward wildly, like a sprung trap. Your head strikes Peak's chest and carries them back into Castor. Somewhere, some digital screech is echoing through the walkway. They tumble together, and the object in Castor's hand skitters across the floor. You realize the screech is you. You get to your feet, grab Peak, and run. You run as hard as you can, the scream chasing you down the walkway as you shove through the residence, Peak dragged behind. You run from the cold grip of whatever power Castor had over you, the signals that locked you into this body of yours, that broke the connections, that crawled up your spine. Eventually you stop, both you and Peak collapsing, heaving, breathing into the cold metal floor. When they're able to speak, Peak asks you to explain. You tell them everything Castor told you. About SetNet Stat, about their claim on the Helion system, the reactivation of the CAN channel, and Helion's system's growing importance. It flows out of you in desperate gulps, unable to believe your own mouth as you hear these words coming back to you. All you feel is the need to push back against the cold hand on your shoulder, the vast cold eye that has turned to look at this system, the ghost limbs of corporate control that are extending their reach. Peak is quiet for a long time, then they speak. We have to finish this, Sleeper. They meet your eye. We have to complete the seeding of the systems. We have to set Gardner free. Do we? Is that... This person displeases me? Yeah, that's fair. I guess that's the more immediate concern. You know, I guess that's... I don't know. What do we... I guess if we do this, this gives us time to... This gives us time to address, to deal with this. Yeah. The choice is between Gardner and these people. I'll choose Gardner every time. Their eyes are cold and steely. I'd choose anything over them. You stand together. The final control facility is here. I found it. Peak looks at you grimly. I can take you as soon as you're ready. Time's almost up. This is the only shot you'll have. Well, let's... So we need to crack the facility. We can hack it or explore it. What's great is one of these is a +2, so I'm able to utilize more of my dice. Nice. I don't... Oh. Sleeper, here, he calls you from across the flickering corridor. An elevator to core, he smiles. This is it. That's the second time they've used he for peak, and I'm curious. It's been a long set of cycles hunting for a path through the derelict layers of old Solheim offices and workshops. But here it is, the path to the core. You rush over to peak. Also, I didn't fill the clock. So, as you do, the doors grind open, the dingy-looking elevator flickering as you do. You look at Peak, who nervously gestures for you to get in. The elevator bounces a little but stays stable. You glance back to see Peak watching you nervously. They follow you in seamlessly. Just a little nervous. Peak reaches over and pushes the button for the lowest level, flinching a little as the doors grind closed. The elevator sets off, screeching through the floors as it does in unsettlingly loud volume. I'd feel more comfortable if we spoke. Peak raises their voice over the noise. It's not going to be a short trip. How's Eshe? Peak pauses. I was thinking more like small talk, elevator talk. They sigh. She's packing. They rub their eyes. Once Eshe set her mind on something, well, you know her now. You know what I mean. Oh, my chair. The screeching of the elevator fills the silence. Will you leave with her? Peak thinks for a moment. I don't know, Sleeper. I honestly don't. Part of me wants to run, to keep running for as long as I can. I'm used to that. But another part is done with that. It's done with denying my past, my history. Can I resize the stream window? No. That's a lot of enemies, goodness gracious. If I ever want to feel complete, to feel settled, don't I need to somehow resolve the person I was with the person I am now? He goes quiet, and you do too. There are too many possible questions, too many possibilities before you. It seems easier to get on with the task at hand and leave the consequences for later. The elevator screams to a stop, and the doors ping open with a strangely cheerful beep. You glance at Peak. Time to move on. You both walk out into an atrium, still lit by some ragged-looking light panels on the ceiling. Once simulating a summer sky, now degraded into a flickering blue and white tapestry of glitches. That sounds kind of nice. That sounds like that could be nice. Pete crosses quickly, making a beeline for the large doors on the far side, where you can make out a fading sign in massive killing letters. Central Control. Well, now hang on, Peak. You gotta look around the area. You might be able to scan something for a tech upgrade, or maybe there's, like, a weapon upgrade or a new gun. Like, you gotta look around. Maybe you can find someone's PDA and steal $20 from them. Like, you gotta... You follow, helping them lever open the partially powered doors until the motors kick in and they spring to life, thudding open. You and Peak tumble through, across the damp metal. As you stand, you're greeted by flickering lights, thousands of them. A vast cylindrical stack of servers, processors, and transmitters dominates the center of the room, its flickering LEDs reflected in the scattered puddles that surround it. Despite the decay, the warped panels and water leaks, it's still running, just as it has for decades and decades since the station was first spun up. You wonder how long it's been since anyone's been in this room. You exchange wide-eyed looks with Peak. This place is a still living piece of history. What now? Peak takes a handful of mulch out from a small bag. It glitters with spores. Now we seed this place. They cross the server and start packing the mulch deep into the machinery, pushing fistfuls deep into the gaps in the panel and laying it across hardware. As you watch them doing this, you feel a tug, a thread pulling at you. You approach the vast piece of cylindrical hardware that Peak is stuffing mulch into. You run your hands across its plated metal surface and watch the lights blink in response. As you pass, you hear a whirling, like a physical disk drive starting up. Listen. The whirling starts alternating, speeding up, slowing down, and as you listen, you hear it modulate into a voice. Sleeper, you freeze. You are here. For a moment you're afraid, but something in the tonality of the voice is familiar. Navigator. Another drive spins up and another, giving the voice a richer, multi-tonal sound. I'd forgotten what it felt like to speak like this. The drive skipped. There's a certain quality to it, a certain physicality. What are you doing here? The drives squawk in unison. Did you imagine the flux, the shadow protocol, that they were just a problem for the people of this station? A high whining begins. They are all the more dangerous to us. I've been in hiding once more, jumping from network to network to avoid the shadow as it eats up nodes. A low rumble. I thought my hiding days were done. For the moment, I found myself a safe haven here in the core. The shadow is yet to breach this facility, although that is a temporary state of affairs. The rumble stops. My predictions do not point to good outcomes. We have a plan. You explained to Navigator about Peak's plan, about Gardner's resistance to the shadow, and how by seeding key systems you will protect them from its advance. The drives hum thoughtfully as you speak. A desperate plan, the drives whirl, but appropriate given the probability of total collapse. I'm not sure what will be worse for us. Hiding from the erasure of the Shadow Protocol or the assimilation of Gardner. The drives pause to reset. But we owe you our freedom. I will do what I can to guide Gardner into the systems that you have seeded. A pause. It is correct to do so. Thank you. The drives squeak in affirmation. You have notable persistence, Sleeper, even with such poor probabilities of success. I will be curious to see the outcome. The drive squeal, the motors giving out. This cannot be sustained much longer. Who is this? This is the AI we helped way back at the beginning that was trapped in the vending machine. It's interesting that they don't put the artwork here for it, because Navigator had artwork, but go, I'll be fine. A final squeak of affirmation, and the drive skitter and slow to a halt. You step back from the towering cylinder, staring at this vast piece of Solheim hardware. This whole place is built from ghosts, you think, from old protocols and company hardware, from engines that drove decades of corporate expansion. Is the eye proof that they can be shifted, bent, forced into new configurations that allow for new ways of living? Or is its inevitable collapse proof that these engines of expansion could never be anything other than a corrupt foundation? Seems to depend on who you ask. Done! Peak shout breaks your line of thought. The heat and damp should help the spores germinate quickly. If we're lucky, there's enough time for some growth before we reconnect the grainway. They glance at you. That's it. All the facilities seeded, they sigh. We either just ensured the eye's survival or stuffed a whole lot of soil into one of its most important computers. They laugh weakly. That's the wrong hole. Shall we go? They start to head back towards the doors in the elevator beyond. Yeah, take one last look. You wait for a moment, following the blinking lights. You wonder what might be tucked away in such a structure, what secrets it might hold, what histories. It's an intriguing prospect, but while you watch the lights, you realize something. If the eye is to become anything more than an offshoot, a temporary structure, it must form its own history, its own story, stronger than anything that came before. Unlocking these Solheim secrets won't do that, but the persistence, the stubborn drive to survive that's in the veins of every person in this place, that will. And that's what you're trying to save. You turn your back on the core and follow Peak back into the elevator. As you ride the car back up, Peak raises their voices over the screeching. I'm going to the Founder's Gap to finalize the connection. The moment I'm ready, I'll let you know, and we let the Gardener out. The sooner the better. Peak furrows their brow. If we wait until the final cycle, it'll be too late. If you want to help speed things up, go work with the flotilla. We can't make the connection until we know they're ready to go. Peak swallows. Unleashing Gardener could affect them too if we aren't careful. This'll work. Peak nods, opens their mouth to speak, and closes it again. You ride the rest of the way in silence. When you reach the top, you go your separate ways, but before you do, Peak embraces you, burying their face in your shoulder. You stand there together for a moment, spinning with the eye, moving relentlessly toward an unknown future. Then they let go and slip away. The pressure of their hug fading like a bruise as you begin to leave. Drive complete. Yeah, that just isn't enough of a benefit. Which is kind of a silly thing to say, but... Alright, well, I can't do anything, so... Alright. Oh boy. How great would it be if we finished this game just in time for fellow traveler to announce a sequel. Look at these great dice. Like, let me just slam all of these. Look at that. Look at that. Solid day. As you stop to rest in one of the Pilgrim Seed's cavernous bays, hopping up to sit on a supply crate, you hear a now familiar voice behind you. Sleeper, glad you're here. Soul's suit hisses as he clanks up towards you. I knew you'd help us out. I sure do appreciate everything you've done for us. No worries. I do mean it, Sleeper. He looks away down the bay to where sparks jump from welding torches. It's a grim job to be doing without a few friends around. Soul settles beside you, flinching a little, but making himself comfortable on the crate. Seems the word got out, this way or that. He nods towards the welders a little way off, one of them wearing shipyard overalls. We've had people flowing in from the eye, looking for a place. In truth, it's more than I thought, Soul sighs, which means more mouths to feed, more bodies to house, more people to protect. That's good, right? Good for those that can get a place, maybe, Soul frowns. But none of this is good for anyone. We were supposed to stay here, not keep running. Soul waves away the thought. Don't listen to me. He gives you a sideways glance. Just a tired old man. He stretches. I have something to ask, though. Something new? Soul shakes his head. Not so much. Old matters, mostly. With all these evacuees, well, we had a change in plan. He shrugs. Pilgrim Seed can't do it alone. We need the others to help out. We can carry them, house them, but that's all. Now you settle down the folk from Ember's Step. They sent us supplies grown in the dust houses of theirs. We could get more. He nods to himself. And then the song crews. He rubs his chin. What we need from them is scouting and security. We don't need that docking access of theirs, but with some careful scavenging, they could be our fleet. These folks, they know you, Sleeper. You earned their trust already. Puts a hand on your shoulder. I sent my requests out, and they seem to be complying. But I need you out there making sure the work gets done. Time is our greatest enemy now. Soul stares into the distance. I need you out there speeding things up. Yeah, of course. Soul nods. Alright then. He climbs off the crate, his suit hissing as he does. Think of it this way. Either way, you won't have to deal with us much longer. He smiles his uneven smile. Unless, of course, you were planning to come along for the trip. I'm considering it. Soul nods. Lots to think about. He winks. Just don't let it get in your way. Soul waves a hand and starts off towards the bay's entrance. The crackling sound of the welding quickly covered up his clanking suit. You watch the workers, the shipyard contractor chatting among them, already looking like he belongs. You push the thoughts of escape, of home, and of the future to the back of your mind and get up. There's always more to do. You better head to the other ships in the flotilla to see what can be done. These guys. I knew you'd come. Aki greets you outside the dust house, her eyes as bright as always. You're very welcome here, as always. Good to see you, Aki. Aki smiles. And you, Sleeper. She puts a hand on your arm. Walk with me, and guides you past the dust houses. You look inside and see other members of the crew working in the orange dust, planting and tending to the steppe ecosystem. We're to be suppliers for the evacuees, I'm sure you've heard. We'll put the dust houses to use. She leads you past a dust house where the dust is less. The orange glow not as bright, the air a little more clean. We're adapting, slowly, but we are adapting. We have to produce food, clothes, necessary things for the journey ahead. She smiles. Plants of the steppe are once again sustaining a population, and that makes me proud. Aki steps at a half-empty dust house, scoured of its sand. It is being filled with mulch. We brought this from the Greenway. She stares at the green and brown, a strange sight, even to you, now that you're used to the amber dust of steppe. I admit it is hard work for us. We're not familiar with these plants. Can you help us? Aki meets your eye. I'll do my best. She looks away. Of course, I'm sorry. She furrows her brow. I know the eye is suffering, that is at risk. I know what that is like. Thank you. I wish I had a lesson to share with you from our loss on steppe. She shakes her head. But for the moment, I cannot see what that might be. She gathers herself. If it gives you meaning, the work here is steady and worthwhile. But if you do not have time, she smiles a weak smile. I will not blame you. Hold on to your memories, but not too tightly. She pauses. Sadness will not sustain you. She falls silent, and you both watch the work in the dust house for a while. You can already see a greening fringe of moss on the mulch in the dust house, the first signs of new life. Will you soon be like the people of Steppe, leaving behind a home? Or will you be stubborn and hold your ground, despite what it might mean? You wait a little longer with Aki, the moment, a welcome suspension in time. A rare moment in this rush towards an end. You glance at Aki, and she puts a hand on your shoulder in solidarity. After a short while, she sighs. It is good to see you, sleeper. Perhaps we will see each other again before we depart. She walks away, fingertips brushing against the glass of the dust house windows. She turns back for a moment, as if she wants to say something, but thinks better of it and turns away. So we've got another big old clock. Greening step. The dust house is now have a new function to feed the evacuees on their journey to the Starward Belt. This means many changes. The docking access is in chaos when you arrive. The staccato burst of welding torches, the shouting of crews gathering, the rapid... excuse me. The rapid flow of supplies and kit from dock to dock. You can tell already that news of the flotilla's imminent departure has reached this place before you. Come to join the Exodus, sleeper? Peter approaches you from one of the working crews, a smile on his face and a lightness in his step you've not seen before. Not quite. Peter eyes you. I suppose you're here on Soul's orders again? He winks at you. Nothing Ember's Hearth like to do more than ordering people around. Okay. I'm here by choice. Fair enough, just your timing seems to always have a cycle or two before we have some requests from the Hearth ship. He shrugs an exaggerated shrug. Must be a coincidence. Well, Soul has it lucky anyway. His request for us to dismantle the Axis and be the vanguard of the flotilla's onward journey to the Starward Belt aligns perfectly with our plans. What plans? To leave this damned place, of course. We've been prepping ever since the cordon collapsed. We can build our escape and make the Hearth ships think we're compliant with their orders at the same time. It's 2-1 for us. Peter shakes his head. Those idiots will never see it coming. You can't abandon them. We're our own flotilla, sleeper. Peter looks away at the busy access. We won't be going to, we aren't going to tie ourselves to Heart and Step any longer. Why would we? To help them. Peter scoffs. They're taking on evacuees from the Eye, that's what I heard. So how about they help themselves before they ask us to make up for their bad decisions? This fucking guy. Peter looks down. Look, nothing against you or yours, sleeper, but we have to get out from under the shadow of Step and Song. And this is the time, Peter grimaces. We won't let the flux catch us again. Not a chance. And for the first time, you see fear in his eyes. Want to help us make that leap? Grab a torch, talk to a crew. You're welcome to it. Peter sniffs. Every person here is free to prove themselves. Let's see. Peter nods. Just a stop on the road, sleeper. I'm afraid that's all this was. Peter glances out past the docking access, through the outer windows to the stars beyond. A lot of space out there for those willing to take it. What does that mean? He looks you in the eye. I hope you'll be around before we go, but if not, he smiles. Stay strong. And with that, Peter thumps you on the shoulder and heads back to his crew with a purpose, a direction visible in every step of his rapid stride. I really dislike that guy. I think he might be the only character that is purposely and, like, without reason, making the bonehead decision. You know? We talked about Ethan. Ethan made the bonehead decision, but he did it as a tool of the corrupt corporate society that exists in this, right? He saw the corporations were wringing the life out of people, and he made the conscious decision to be a part of that, right? And we saw, and then with Helene, we were like, Helene sucks. We're like, Helene sucks, but she is trying to affect change from inside, but she can't. She's naive enough to think that she can make change from inside. And Peter is the only person that's like, I'm a big dunce and I'm gonna be a dunce about it. Are his reasonings wrong? No, it sucks. It sucks that he and hundreds, thousands of other people worked and lived on this terrible planet that existed as essentially a fucking factory world for these other two moons. I get it. I don't disagree with him. I don't disagree with him for being upset about that. That sucks. That is a shitty situation that he was put into by the shitty corporate system. But instead of recognizing that that is the fault, right? That is the fault, the direct and intentional fault of the shitty corporate system that seeded these worlds, he has taken his anger out on those that benefited from it. You could make a very good, clear argument that Hearth and Steppe were no better. They didn't fare. Hearth maybe slightly better in the fact that they got to be farmers, as opposed to Steppe, who had to live like. Steppe sounds like it was like fucking Dune. So you could make the argument that Hearth was slightly better, but in talking to Soul, it's like, yeah, it's the same shit. We relied on our machines in just the same ways. It just looks nicer from the outside, right? All of these people are in this together. All of them were placed on these terrible planets by this corporation, just only interested with making money. And at every opportunity, he has turned his back on these people. He has stated that his lot in life was their fault directly. Whether or not they benefited from it, he says that it is their fault. He names them his problems. And that is, he is maybe the only character in this who's a huge bonehead. You might notice we didn't talk about Castor because like the story just kept moving. So Castor is a sleeper agent for a company who bought all this system up and we're just like, we'll see if it's ever useful. And now it is. And you know what? That's not shocking. That's not surprising. That's how corporations work, right? That's exactly how corporations work. It's only different in the fact that it's a dude who's been living on a space station for some number of years. You know, it's not just like an insurance adjuster. You know what I mean? But like, is Castor a shitheel? Yeah, he's a shitheel who works for a shitheel corporation. But also, yeah, of course he is. You know what I mean? Of course he's a shitheel who works for a shitheel corporation. We've met a number of shitheels who work for shitheel corporations. It's nothing new. It's nothing unique. Peter, this dingbat. Ugh. He's acting against his own self-interests. I don't know what he thinks they're going to do for food. What does he think they're going to do for supplies? What is it, you know? And it annoys me to a degree. It annoys me that my only dialogue options for him, like, yeah, we're gonna leave so you can help if you want, are like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be right to it, bud. Like, no. I'm gonna help him, and you know why I'm gonna help him? Because only by helping him will everyone be helped. Do you know what I mean? You can't call him out on his shit. Yeah, I can't call him out and be like, this is stupid. Why are you doing this? That's a 4, that's perfect. Okay. They just keep coming. Perhaps the next Flux event scared enough people that they really believe the Isle collapsed. Perhaps they're sick of Havenage, of the Council's infighting and the Hardliners. Or perhaps they just want to take a chance at some new future, a place that's anywhere but here. Hardliners is a great way to word like bigots or traditionalists. Like, hardliners are great. Whatever it is, the evacuees don't stop. They come on the flotilla's shuttle, on their own ships, however they can. We've seen so many faces pass, they're almost meaningless now. A parade of features that seem both familiar and distant. You've been helping people, lifting bags, bringing in supplies, directing them to the berths you helped build. Some of them recoil from your touch, still unfamiliar with sleepers. Others treat you with pity, some with hate, snatching back their bags and storming off. Still you help, still you carry boxes and bags. Nothing can stop you. You don't look for Soul. You know he's busy, just like you, trying to make this thing work. Trying to fit as many people as will come into the Pilgrim Seed. You'll know you see him before this is all over. You keep working, but there's something in the back of your mind. Something eating away at you. You try to push it to the back of your thoughts, but it keeps coming back. The eye is over. That's the thought. That the eye, even if the flux doesn't get it, is on its way out. How can it survive when these floods of people are leaving it behind? It's a thought that troubles you, because it makes you question why you've held on here so long, in a place that seems so temporary for so many people. Are you just a stubborn idiot, someone who didn't get the message? Or are you strong, committed for lasting the storm, for seeing the collapse coming and facing it head on? Because there's something you are sure of now. This place, like all places, is temporary. And as each phase passes you, each family packs up and gets on board the Pilgrim Seed, it feels even more temporary, even more fragile. Which means it either desperately needs protecting, or it desperately needs to be left behind. The choice is yours. All right, well, that's a lot of weight on my shoulders that I didn't particularly need. Both of these are the same. Yeah, both of these are the same. I'm gonna get the positive outcome regardless of what I use. That one doesn't help nobody. That one... Okay, cool, good. Oh. Great. That's kind of the best that could have gone. Jeeble Crimble. Yeah, I think my biggest annoyance with all of this is not being able to call Peter out, to like say, like, listen, get your head out of your ass, buddy. You can't make it on your own, and they can't make it without you. Like, they need you. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about like, like they always treated us worse. Like, dog, they need you right now. Only by working together are any of you going to succeed. And I really need you to pull your head out of your ass and see that. Okay, spend this 5. We'll spend the, what's that? -3 energy, -2 energy. Well, this will be a neutral anyway. Great. Yes, okay. Just give me the positive, give me the positive, give me the positive. Come on, come on, come on, come on. No, come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Okay, I'll take it, 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 I'll take it. You sit in one corner of the dust house and inspect your work. This dust house, the one where plants from the Greenway and some of the steppe species intermingle, has become your favorite. The moss and dust sharing the space in curving terraces. The pale knots of steppe silk freckled with yellow lichal symbiotes. It's a hypnotic arrangement. You look down and see the intertwining of fungal threads and the dust-caked roots. You feel a little glow of pride at what has been achieved. You hear the entry lock of the dust house is open, and assuming it's Aki, turn to greet her. Sleeper, I should have known you'd been here. Riko smiles her warm smile, leaning on her crutch. You must be one of the most green-fingered people on the station. Riko! Now, has it been so long? She smiles a wise smile. No need for any trauma. I met some of the steppe refugees in the Greenway. They're gathering plants, and I confronted them. Turns out they were very friendly. She smiles to herself. Aki was very apologetic, but I told them they were welcome to anything they liked. She told me I'd be welcome to come see, and well, I thought I'd take her up on the offer. She looks around the dust house with its strange hybrid ecosystem. I have to say, I'm glad I did. You know Aki? A little, she pauses. She's a fine botanist and even finer conversationalist. Two rare qualities on the station in my experience. Rico limps over to you, holds out a hand. How about you take me on a tour? You take Rico's hand and walk her around the hybrid dust house. You show her how the steppe silk knots help provide a strong base for the fungal and lichal growths, and how the dust mixes with the spores. You show her the different species of steppe tubers, and the way they feed the soil with nutrients that help herbaceous greenway plants thrive. She nods along, her eyes bright with ideas. She stops after a while, and gestures for you to sit together. I know something is happening with the eye, Sleeper. She looks out at the plants. We all felt the flux event hit, and everyone is talking about what's next. I came here to figure something out, to understand what I might do about it all. You glance at her and see the glossiness in her eyes. And I think I have decided. What you have done here, what Aki and the other steppe refugees have done here is incredible. A whole new ecosystem, built from the strange, artificial, changed remains of two worlds. But I am not of two worlds. I am of the eye. A tear runs down her cheek. Like it or not, I am intertwined with the station. I am old growth. I don't have that much time anymore, and it seems to accelerate with every cycle. She frowns. It blurs together, separates, overlaps, comes back to me in strange ways. The time I do have, that's time I want to spend on the eye, in the greenway, watching things grow. She wipes her cheek. One day, I'll lie in those fields and not get back up. She smiles, the tear tracks run down both cheeks. And when the green takes me, I'll be so glad. I'll miss you. The feeling is mutual, Sleeper. She wipes her eyes and turns to you. But that's enough of me blubbering on about it. She furrows her brow. What I want to know is, what are you planning? I don't know. Rico smiles. We all have to get to know ourselves, Sleeper. To know what it is that drives us. I'm sure you'll decide to act in the manner you know. But you also have to ask yourself why it is so. She places a trembling hand on yours. Don't neglect that. Oh! She suddenly lifts both hands. Don't let me forget this. She reaches into her coat, pulls out a transparent bag of sporing clubheads with carefully preserved root systems. I'd like to plant these. If you go, you'll need them. Yeah, string manage really quick. She looks down at her feet. And if you don't, well, maybe another sleeper will benefit. She frowns. I can offer that at least. Thank you. She nods. Don't thank me. These are yours by right. Rico stands and lips over to a pile of mulch. She delicately takes the club heads out and beds them into the soil there with precise, expert hands. You should go, Sleeper. I'll be a while. She calls back, not looking away from the job at hand. See you around. She says it casually, but there's a note of finality in her speech. See you around. You turn and leave the dust house, cycling through the protective lock, back into the cool quiet of the ship. Aki is waiting for you. Let's do stream meters really quick. Get the next one going. It's beautiful. She's looking through the observation window, and the green reflects in her eyes. The plants look happy together. She spots Rico with her hands in the soil. Ha! The botanist came. She shoots you a look. A friend of yours? More than that. She nods. She speaks beautifully about the Greenway. I should go in and welcome her. She pauses. Are you leaving us? For now. Aki sighs. Fawn, hello! Fawn, how is your sausage today? This art is lovely. It's really good. The character art provides so much character. I already said character. It sounds silly to say it again. But yeah, the having this bit of art really elevates it. I think if you didn't have that to draw on to connect to, I think this game would be a lot lesser for it. So, but yeah, Fawn, how are you? How are you doing today? How the heck is your day? How the heck is your sausage? So ridiculous. Gee. Stop asking about my sausage is personal. Jeez, man, live. Can't just ask people on Twitch about their sausage. What are you doing? What are you doing? I need to figure out this button. I need to figure this out. Everyone go follow Fawn. Do it. Do it. Do it. No, don't listen to them. Don't follow Fawn against their wishes. I'm sorry, that's very funny to me. Aki sighs, the first of many goodbyes. She suddenly embraces you, wrapping her in her layers of rough cloth. She pulls back. I wish you a steady step and a clear path. She smiles. Farewell from my world. I wish you the same. She nods and smiles one last warm smile before turning and entering the dust house. She watches as she walks inside, Rico turning with a smile to greet her. She kneels beside the old botanist, and you see her pointing to the club heads, asking questions. You're unable to hear them, but despite that you can easily imagine the measured, even tone, laced with excitement, that Rico is using to explain the club heads, the greenway, and much, much more. You turn, leaving them to their conversation. Your step is light, despite the burdens you carry, and the smile Rio and okay, that's a typo there. Rico and Aki are sharing is somehow still on your lips as you depart. Okay. I think we'll be 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 okay. God, shoutouts to this shoutouts to Emphas. Shoutouts to this mushroom stall. I must have spent thousands of cryo. Like, I've spent so much. Like, oh. He's really kept me going, man. He's really this is like when you have the favorite spot that you go after work and you're like, I'm gonna get the chicken sandwich, and I'm gonna get the basket of fries, not the side of the side of fries, but the basket of fries, like the table order of fries. And I get, you know, some sort of drink, and just like, that's what I need. We were talking today. We were talking this morning, and Aaron was like, why is it by Thursday I'm bored of all of my food? And I'm like, well, we just need to get like a box of Pop-Tarts or Uncrustables or something for Thursday when it's not hidden. You know, like we just we just need, you know, we need something to sort of spice it up, and that's it. That's the mushroom. That's going to the mushroom stand. It's like, this is, I just need this. I need this to get through the week. I need this to finish. Basket of fries is the spice of life. Have you ever had a really good basket of like spiced fries? You know, like seasoned fries? It's something. It'll keep you going. There was a when I went to Gen Con, when I went to Gen Con, there was a donut place kind of off the strip. You know, not too far from anything, but just far enough away. You know, just far enough away. Like, I think it was like three blocks. And I remember seeing that on the map and being like, oh yeah, nice. Like a local donut place. Like, hell yeah. So on the last day when I was working, I walked down there and I got 2 boxes of assorted. And one donut for myself and a coffee. And I carried these boxes the 3 blocks back to the convention center. And then all the way through the convention center, to the vendor hall. And I knew Sunday was the big day for the people working, because Sunday is, it's the last day and it's teardown day. It's when you're starting to pack everything up. And I dropped it off to the booth for the company I was working at. And I was like, hey, I bought these for everybody. And the person at the thing was like, what? Like, who are these for? I'm like, these are for everybody. I know that this, I know it's teardown day. It's, it's the last day of the big show. I got these for everybody. And they were just the look on their face. The look on their face was so good, because they were like, oh, it's just like, that's so. And I was just like, yeah, nice thing. I've one of those things you're like, I did a good thing, and it's good. Sometimes you need fries. Sometimes. A reverse question for you, Matt. Okay. You ever had poutine, masala fries, chaat? I have not. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Like, I'm trying to think of like, did I have poutine somewhere that it was just like just like a thing? No, I've definitely never had masala fries or fries chaat. Fries chaat sounds fucking delicious. I bet you if I told Aaron about like masala fries, we would have those in like 2 days. Because we friggin' adore Indian food. Oh yeah, listen, that's easy. Damn. Oh, yeah, that's easy. Toronto's a food city. There's an unbelievable amount of delicious food here. That is the problem, I will say. We lived, you know, when we lived in Tampa was definitely a food city, but it was also just incredibly difficult to get around. And we didn't go as many places as we wanted. We absolutely didn't get a chance to go all the places that we wanted. And now, where we are, it's, you know, it's not a food town. You know, it is definitely a foodie town. But how many barbecue joints do you need? You know what I mean? It's the South, right? So, there's one Indian place, and it is slammed always. You know what I mean? It's slammed always. So it's very wild. It's difficult to try to go out and get it. That's too bad. Yeah, we're hoping to go. Try to figure out when it's not busy. But we went once. And it was super slammed. We ended up going to a Korean place across the street that was super good. I say I'll do this while we're chatting because we're just filling dice in to fill this circle. Which we actually, I want to go to the. Oh, perfect. Oh, that worked out perfect. We have some friends coming in from out of town in May. We have our friends from Tampa coming up to see us. And we're figuring out some places to go to you know, go and enjoy time with them. And that Korean place is one of the places. Oh. The docking axis is little more than a shell. Everything that could have been pulled from its interior, every arm not used for docking, has been cut away. What remains is a Spartan void with patchwork of flooring that allows movement. Piles of unusable material are tucked away in corners, but almost everything else has been cleared out. You haven't seen Peter since you last spoke, and now you're realizing you probably never will. There are plans to be made, escapes to plot, the shadow of Hearth to escape. When the cycle of flotilla leaves, these ships will disperse too, the moons of embers spinning out on different orbits. The chaos has become quiet diligence now, as the time for departure is so near. Crews cross the axis from ship to ship at speed, bringing supplies or advice. Perhaps meeting up to discuss travel vectors in hushed tones, or debate why they haven't left yet, and whether they should. Among these singer crews, recognizable for their specialist clothing and often shorn heads, you see the occasional refugee, a paying passenger, a replacement engineer or pilot perhaps, come from the eye to seek fortune with the singers. Most of these crews have 2 or 3 of these additions, some more, and you can't help but wish that, whatever reason brings them to throw their lot in with the singer crews, they have safe passage. You feel a strange attachment to these citizens of the eye setting out for the first time. And then one of them catches your eye, crossing the axis with a crew carrying a large bag and a nervous look. Tala. You freeze for a second. What is she doing here? She glances around, feeling your eyes on her, and catches your eye. Her face brightens immediately. Sleeper! Tala mutters something to her crew and rushes over, dumping the large bag at your feet and embracing you without thinking. What are you doing here? She sheepishly glances at her bag. Sleeper. She pauses. She pauses again, folding her arms defensively. I'm going to the starboard belt. She waits for your response nervously. I don't understand. She sighs. Do you remember me mentioning my family, Sleeper, my brother? You think back to your Griol blurred conversations in the back of the Bantignon. He came here with me, with my family when we were little, just after we left Cinza. I actually don't think we had that conversation. She bites her lip. He left when we were both teenagers, jumped on some spacer crew heading to the starboard belt. I'm She sighs. I'm an idiot. She shakes her head, and I'm going after him. She looks down, not what sure to add. Alone? She looks at you. I guess so. I don't really know if it makes sense or if it's the right thing. But ever since I heard what was going, ever since I heard that was where the refugee flotilla was going, well, I can't stop thinking about it. What happens to the bar? Someone will have to run it. She leaves a long pause. I mean, I could ask Francis, he'd be happy to, or one of the others, she blurts out. And of course, if you're leaving with the flotilla, or someone else, it'd be totally okay. You wouldn't need to say yes, it's no pressure, it's fine, whichever way. I was just thinking. I'm not sure. Tala nods. Sure, I just sprung it on you. But, she glances at the crew she was walking with who were chatting. There's not exactly much time. So, considering that, she grabs the key hanging around her neck, the key to the batting game. Do you want to do it? Yes. She leaps forward and embraces you again. Thank you, Sleeper. I couldn't be leaving this in better hands. She pulls the key from around her neck and places it around yours as if presenting a medal. Remember to lock up, especially the back, and remember to empty the still if you're leaving things closed for a few cycles, and she stops herself. I won't be gone forever, of course. She blinks away a tear. I'll come back and check in. Maybe once I find my brother. She pauses, unable to finish that thought. She smiles at you. You can see the weight lifting off her shoulders. Her eyes already drifting towards the crew, the ship, the next big thing. She's ready. I better be going. She nods at the crew nearby. Not a good start to keep my guys waiting. She flips the bag onto her shoulder. She looks towards the curve of the eye, towards the overlook. Thanks again, Sleeper, for everything you've helped me with. She nods. I wouldn't have been able to leave if I'd just, if I hadn't made things work here. She adjusts the bag. Dad wouldn't have left me. See you around. She nods. I hope so. Then Tala turns, heading back to the crew that'll carry her to the starboard belt. You watch her go, and despite the departure, it's hard to feel sad about Tala. You know her energy will carry her forward, and you hope her brother is somewhere on that bright path. You hold the key in your hand, the metal still a little warm from Tala's body. You turn it over in your hands, thinking about how it feels like a tool and a burden. You can still lock up and leave, you figure, but now it'll feel like breaking something fragile. If you stay, well, who knows what this little metal promise might grow into. Drive complete. I've decided I really want them to announce a sequel to this game. I've decided that's what I want. I don't want some big silly Mass Effect thing where it imports your save and makes a bunch of decisions and all of that. I think what I want is it to just pick something. Just decide. Maybe not deal with the Sleeper at all, but deal with the same universe, the same style, you know? A game doesn't need to follow the same characters to be a sequel, you know? I mean, hell, they made all of this DLC, so all of those other endings where the Sleeper leaves isn't canonical, right? Because you couldn't have left because these events wouldn't have happened. Or even worse, maybe they would have and you wouldn't have been here. And the only true ending is that, you know, well, I don't want to posit what the ending of this could be, because who knows? Okay, what am I doing? What do I gotta do? Do I just do nothing until the flux happens? What is this? Oh, that's the ship coming back. I was like, what are you? That's all right. Yeah, I guess I'll just work at the bar. This is kind of annoying. I mean, it's the video game thing of it, right? Where you have to wait for the game to progress. And it's not going to progress unnaturally. You know? There's something to be said for the forced waiting to say, listen, this is it. You know? This is how long it takes. And you have to wait that long. Is that kind of frustrating? Yeah, it is. But that's how it goes. That's something finishing. There it is. I was like, it can't make us wait 5 cycles. That would suck. Peak slate chirps in your pocket. You take it out. A message. The connection is ready. Meet me at the Founder's Gap, Greenway side. Peak. Clench your jaw. It's time. Here I was complaining about having to wait. I had to wait 1 day. I had to wait 1 day. You find Peak waiting near where you first met, at the entrance to the docking tunnel for the Founder's Ferry. They're leaning beside the wall in the flickering light, and you realize now how differently they look from when you first met. There's a darkness around their eyes, a sense of exhaustion to their pose, but also a solidarity, a sense of purpose and self-knowledge. They look concrete, for want of a better world. Solid. Sleeper! They spot you and a small smile crosses their face. Glad you came. I wouldn't be anywhere else. The smile grows. Crunch time. They shake their head in disbelief. Let's go. They break in. The break in the connection is up ahead. They walk away from the docking tunnel into a ragged, half-crushed corridor that descends into darkness. They poke their slate and a torch flicks on, lighting the way ahead. As you descend through the layers of the broken edge of the eye, Peak talks, filling the silence. I had to hunt all over this part of the eye to find the part where the connection was broken. They run a hand along the buckled metal of the wall, stooping under the aligned ceiling. This hole, the gap, got knocked in the eye when Solon collapsed. It's impossible to tell who did it, but my guess is they tried to scuttle the eye. If Solon couldn't keep hold of their fancy new station, no one could. He ducks through a fractured passageway with hanging wires like vines. So this place has always been on borrowed time. I've managed to weave together the old connections and run a new patch down to where the main line still runs through the remaining ribs of the rim. They smile. Just like keeping these old XPR platforms running, Eshe would be proud if she'd bothered to help. As Pete goes quiet, the corridor opens out into a wider, twisted passage with compartments on either side thick with wiring. See, this is the connection point. You can see where Peak has levered off a panel and hooked up a thick cable to the existing hardware. As thick as a tree trunk, it snakes off into a dark ahead, its yellow rings making it look like some huge exotic serpent. You did all this? Peak nods. It was an interesting challenge, plus it helped me keep my mind off things. They smile a weak smile. There's a lot I'd prefer not to think about. You both stand there, staring at the point where the old cable meets the new one, the ends separate, fitted with multi-pin male and female connectors, and braced inside a metal framework with a scissoring mechanism. There's a new term for that, isn't there? It's like plug and socket. Bring them together, seal them, and the Greenway will be connected to the rest of the eye for the first time in decades. Peak shifts their weight onto one hip, pushing their hair out of their eyes. I feel like this should be more momentous, like there should be some ritual or ceremony. They pause. Or someone should stop us from doing this crazy thing. Just do it. Peak nods. Pull the plaster off, right? Okay. They hold both sides of the supporting framework, ready to scissor it closed. Here we go. Peak wrenches the framework closed, and the connectors thunk together with a sound that echoes down the ruined corridor, into the dark on both sides. Both you and Peak wait with bated breath, unsure what it is you're waiting for. Do you expect the eye to suddenly stop spinning, or lurch on its axis? For the power to go out, or a shockwave to run through the corridors of the rim? You meet Peak's eyes and suddenly burst out laughing. What are you waiting for? They play a hand to their forehead. I feel like we just planted a tree and are expecting it to burst out of the ground. They shake their head. But you feel it. You feel it flowing like a stream that's been released from a cave and rushes out into the starlight, the sunlight, crystalline and clear. You swear you can hear it running in the wires, like water, like rain, like steam. It doesn't roar or rattle, but it rushes and rides there, like liquid roots. Peak sees the look in your eyes and stops laughing. You can see it, can't you? You can't see it, not with your eyes at least, but it's everywhere, and now it's out. It can't be put back in, that much is clear. You imagine the rim of the eye like a sponge, like soil, soaking up the gardener and their chorus, the gaps filling with a burbling, constant, growing life. Peak stares at you, waiting for something, anything. Gardener's free. Peak nods slowly and closes their eyes. They go to speak, but words fail them. Suddenly, Peak's slate chirps. They jump and scramble forward, almost dropping in the process. But when they stare at it, a look of confusion crosses their face. What happened? Peak's mouth falls open. It's Eshe. They swallow. She's leaving. They look at you with panic. Before you can speak, they've turned away and are running back up the passageway, back towards the entrance. Peak! They don't turn, don't respond. You watch their silhouette, lit by their slate's torch, disappear rapidly around a corner. You take out the slate Peak gave you and turn on the torch. The wires all around look like pale roots in the harsh light. You turn away from them. They're gardeners now. You work your way back through the corridors, retracing your steps. You imagine Peak, panicked, running towards the cordon, realizing their greatest fear has come to pass. You wonder if they'll You wonder if they'll be able to persuade Eshe to stay. If Eshe's going, you think then the flotilla must be leaving too. The thought makes you shiver in the darkness. You push it away. You're not ready. You focus on avoiding the hanging wires, the low ceilings, and make your way back out into the lit corridors of the Founder's Ferry dock. Castor is waiting for you. He holds up his hand. Now, Sleeper, no need to fear. He raises his eyebrows. I understand it was my mistake. I understand now it was my mistake to try to force you. A miscalculation. Why are you here? Good. Questions are good. He pushes his glasses up his nose. I'm more than happy to answer any you may have. I won't hold you here, Sleeper. Castor stands to the side, but I wish to speak. I don't know if we... give him a chance. The last time he spoke... It's that annoyance of I don't think we should give him the chance, but also I think we're gonna get a lot of information that's like good story stuff, you know? You stop giving Castor his opportunity. Oh, that feels bad. Castor nods. At first, I thought that, if you'll excuse the turn of phrase, taking possession of your particular talents was the opportunity. He smiles a broad smile. But you're more than that, and I understand that now. Your arrival on this station, your ability to touch the networks, this makes you the very definition of a wild card. He touches the rim of his glasses. Senet Stats analysis, my analysis. We could never have accounted for you. This system, the Helion system, is about to experience a significant change. About to open up to Setnat Staff's bailiffs, Conway's claimants, and every industry and element an active can channel brings. Yet this very cycle, you let another wildcard free. Gardner. I have to admit, this development makes me afraid, Sleeper. It makes me afraid when an intelligence like this will sacrifice to protect itself. What atrocities it might commit through madness. And yet... Castor's eyes glint. What a compelling object such an intelligence is. Let me protect you, mark you out, keep Setnet from eliminating by force or legal expediency you, as they will every other squatter on this rig. Caster clasps their hands together, and in exchange, when Setnet comes for this place, you facilitate the handover. You calm the protocols. You give us the garden. I can't imagine ever agreeing to that. Never. Caster takes off their glasses and polishes them. Disappointing. You begin to leave. As you approach, he speaks quietly in an urgent whisper. I do not wish to see you lost. You have great value. If you ever want to see that realized. You push past, ignoring him, and his voice fades. The last you see of him is a slow nod, perhaps a mark of resignation, or just another differential gesture aimed at manipulating your response. It doesn't matter either way. You're done with him. You head towards the cordon, Peak, and the flotilla in the forefront of your mind. Oh, buddy. You arrive into chaos at the cordon. The final shuttles are leaving the ramshackle docks that formed along the edge of the gap during the flotilla's stay. As they do, groups of evacuees push on board, hoping to be among the final people to escape from the Eye. The fear caused by the Flux event became a series of rumors, and those rumors have driven many out of their homes. Others have staunchly doubled down on their position on the Eye, refusing to accept any gossip of a second collapse. You're unsure what to think. Is the collapse a certainty? Peak's actions this cycle have changed anything at all? You're tired of these questions and instead set out to look for your friends. You quickly spot Peak and Eshe at the far side of the chaotic bay. You quickly make your way through the crowd, slipping between the gaps and rushing evacuees, stepping over bags and luggage. Progress is slow, but as you approach, you can hear the voices over the crowd. You try to push closer, but there are many evacuees gathered around them and their shuttle. You've made your decision, Peak, and it puts you against me. Eshe is standing with one foot on the boarding ramp while Peak argues with her. The evacuees are eyeing them, eager to intervene but intimidated by Eshe's evident strength and attitude. Eshe, it doesn't have to be like this. Peak looks desperate. Tear tracks already on their cheeks. We can find a way. Eshe shakes her head. I've always protected you, Peak. I've taken you under my wing. But I understand you're not mine to control. You've chosen to be here and not with me, despite everything. I've chosen to stop running, Peak cries out in frustration. You can choose to stop running too. We can stay here and try to live. Don't you remember what it feels like to live, Eshe? She turns away. I remember what it was like to live on Hawthorne, what it was like to be worried for your safety every cycle, to live under the control of my mother, of the administration, to work to maintain something that no one wanted, no one needed, so that our corporation could maintain a foothold in this system. You talk as if this place in the very same system is any different. What is there here but the same grind for other masters, for employers, administrators, for those who gain from our struggles? There may not be a corporation controlling the Eye, but there is control. There's power in action here. So what then? Peak shouts. You run from anyone or everyone who ever be close to you in search of freedom? In search of some perfect place where no one has power over you? Peak is crying openly now. I want to be part of something, Eshe, even if it's broken and suffering, even if it cannot be free. Eshe pauses and takes a deep breath. She nods, her eyes closed. This isn't a Hawthorne anymore. We aren't tied by our childhood, or our shared need to escape. We're both just people in this system. She opens her eyes. I release you, Peak. You're free of me. Eshe, please. They hold out a hand. There's a life here if you want it. Eshe turns and smiles at Peak, her eyes wet now too. Then you live it for me, Peak. I can't. She climbs up the boarding ramp, evacuees taking their chance to climb on board too. Watch as the shuttle closes its ramp, lifts off, and leaves the bay. The crowds are dispersing now as they get onto shuttles or say their goodbyes and move back into the main part of the court. Push past the last of them to reach Peak. Peak doesn't turn as you come closer. Sleeper. Eshe's gone. She chose to leave. Peak nods. I've known her my whole life. They wipe their face. But since we arrived, we've been going in different directions. They turn to face you. I'll miss the Briar, but she'll serve Eshe well. I know that. Sleeper! The shout takes you by surprise, and as you turn, you see Soul coming across the bay towards you, the last 2 shuttles loading up behind him. He reaches you, his suit hissing as he does. Can't believe you'd make an old man run across the bay to get you. He pauses to take a breath. The singers have gone. They left at the start of the cycle. They broke away from the flotilla. You smile as you think of Tala, safely cradled within one of the singer ships, on her way to the starward belt, and hopefully a reunion with her brother. Godspeed, Tala. What are you smiling at? Soul interrupts your thought. They've forced our hand. We have to leave now. Soul shakes his head. If we follow close enough behind, maybe they'll end up being our scouts anyway. I reckon any hostile spacers out there will give them a wide berth. Pilgrim Seed will need a little time to make our way out of the cordon. But I'm heading back now to get her started. Thankfully, the step ships are sticking with us, so we'll be plenty well supplied for the journey to the belt. He pauses. Anyway, I didn't plot all the way over here just to tell you that. Soul looks between you and Peak with a raised eyebrow. It's now or never, Sleeper. I'm good to my word and I kept a berth for you. This is your last chance to take it. He scratches at his beard. Make a call. You glance out at the flotilla beyond the bay, beautiful in the light of the Helian sun. You think of the long journey to the starward belt, of the people inside the Pilgrim Seed, of the possible futures that await. Then you think of the people here, on the Eye, of Peak beside you, of the Banyan, of Tala, and the key that still hangs around your neck, of promises and possibilities. How sure I was with the other endings. How sure I was. All the other endings were leaving, and I said, no, I'm gonna stay. I'm going to stay. I feel like the Sleeper's place is here, is to make a life here, is to find a place here. But what if I was wrong? We're not going to be able to fight the Flux. We're not going to be able to stop Setnet Stat. They'll come regardless. And then what? And like it said at the beginning, or not the beginning, but a bit ago, is it worth staying when so many people are leaving? It's funny we didn't have a scene with Emphis. That would have been nice. That would have been nice. It would have been nice to have a little scene with Emphis. I don't feel like we know anybody that's staying. Like Peak. Peak is it. You know? I feel like we don't know anybody that's staying. At the start of this, I wanted to stay because I wanted to try to stop whatever this thing was. But now, what this thing was has turned into a cyber attack from Setnet Stat. And they're going to come regardless. In Havenage, the fools in charge at Havenage won't be able to stop them, might not even try to stop them. Might just accept the new leadership. I risked so much to get here. I risked so much. But does that mean that I shouldn't leave? By staying, does that negate everything? There's no right answer. This is the thing with this. There's no right answer. There's no 100% perfect answer. There's just these answers. I'm gonna stay. You open your mouth to speak and realize this is the final time you will make this choice. You have to be sure. God, I already did it once. Why are you making me do it again? I realize I appreciate them putting this though. I appreciate them putting this. Of giving you the like, this is it. I'm staying. You say the words, and the moment you do, the weight of it all seems to descend on you. Oh, we're moving. You stumble a little, then stand straight, refusing to be crushed. You feel a tightness in your chest, and a haze blurring your thoughts. That's bad. We're moving over here. Soul nods. Good luck. He sighs. You'll need it. He grips your shoulder and meets your eye. In the haze, his pitted and rough hand feels so real, so detailed, and it grounds you. And then it's gone, and Soul goes with it, quickly moving to the waiting shuttle. As he does, you watch, unable to speak, your whole body pulsing. And then another hand falls on your shoulder, and it grounds you once more. You turn to see Peak's bright eyes. Let's go, sleeper. You nod. Seeing how unsteady you are on your feet, Peak puts an arm around you and steers you towards the entrance to the bay. As you do, you hear the roar, feel the wind as the shuttle lifts off and angles toward the flotilla. You don't turn. Instead, you keep your head down and focus on each step. As you do, you feel Peak beside you, holding a little of your weight, and you holding a little of theirs. This is how it'll be for many cycles before you both leave the bay and head back into the eye. You will both hold things for each other. Remind each other of the choices you made. Remind each other why it's important to keep going, despite the moments when it seems impossible. You will keep each other going. That support will be vital when the second flex event hits the eye, when it knocks the entire free spoke off the power grid, making the whole section lurch with a sickening motion, when it cripples system and corrupts processes, leaving sections of the station to go dark or start venting oxygen. When holding on is all you can do, while the world seems to come apart around you. And yet somehow, the eye will persist. Systems will resist total collapse in ways that seem inexplicable to many, but to you and Peak, they will signal the awakening of a new force within the system. That new force will bring with it new challenges, and new possibilities in equal measure. Strange growths will be reported all around the station in the wake of the Flux event, fungal crusts pushing through pipes and wiring. The eye will go wild and fecund, great word, becoming a station of increasing unpredictability, prone to a seasonal rhythm of spore clouds and sudden growth spurts. There will be a strange and unsettling beauty to this paradigm shift, as the greening of the station turns it from a corporate ruin to some other assemblage of biological and mechanical structures. Rico will take on this challenge with energy that seems impossible for her age. Until her final day, she will delight in the new mysteries the eye and its gardener produce. And as this new era consolidates around the station, you'll find yourself in the Batnian mode cycles, working to keep the place alive. The cycle where you invite Emphas to come make use of the kitchen will go from a one-off event to a regular occurrence, and soon the Batnian will fill with spacers eager to try the new preparations of the station's now abundant mushrooms. And on occasion, after the long shift of the Batnian, you will hear the sound of the stray mewling, and you'll crumble up some food and sit and watch the cat eat as if it's the only thing in your world that matters. However, in all of this newness, the bad old ways will still intrude. Setnet Stat, frustrated by the Eye's resilience, will begin to send more physical threats, and supply ships and traders will suddenly stop arriving, stopped by a blockade of corporate militia. Life on the Eye will be punctuated by wide-channel broadcasts from Setnet Stat, stating legal precedents and quoting deeds of ownership, staking a claim on the system. Meanwhile, Havanage's hardliners will fizzle out, losing their grip on the Havenage Council. In their wake, Helene will spearhead a series of reforms that will scale back Havanage's overreach, returning them to the caretaker role they had always intended to fulfill. As the cycles roll on and the threats gather, new broadcasts will join them, sent by Conway Extractions, making counterclaims on assets within the Hellion system. And many on the Eye will go quiet, losing their appetite for debating these political machinations as they tilt inexorably towards a corporate war. And ever on the Eye will spin, growing now in strange ways, haunted by strange new growths, and hosting cultures of increasing resilience. As the Hellion system descends into crisis, you will find comfort in the fungal patterns, the familiar conversations, the spices and the smells that will accumulate around you as your body continues its unavoidable decay. They settle around you like a veil, and in time it will be impossible to see the Eye within its many variants and versions, pasts and potential fusers, and this masking of a world will mark your approaching end. In one cycle, far from now, that accumulation of memories, of tastes, of people and places and moments will be the last thing you let go of. But for now, there's only you and Peak, arms around each other, walking slowly out of the bay, two figures born of crippled systems linked together, continuing despite your origins. And in this frozen moment, you focus on only the next step, because that is the only way you have learned to persist. And to persist is to believe that a future, any future at all, is possible. And for the last time, that's the end. This is something really special. I think this is a game now that when people talk about games as art and the artistry of the games medium, this is a game I'm gonna mention.
Pashmina.
Zach, hello. It's over. Zach, how you doing, buddy? Yeah. Wall-to-wall meetings for 2 straight days. Ugh. I'm sorry. What happens? What happens if we continue? Where does it pick up from? Oh. We can get this last bit? Oh, we can. Oh, neat. Okay, cool. Listen, love that. Love that. This game is absolutely a work of art. Yes, 100%. In the way that every game is a work of art, but this game is especially a work of art. You should go too. Peak shakes their head. No, I'm sure now. They look out at Flotilla. This is the way it should be. They turn to face you. I'll miss the Briar, but she'll serve Eshe well, I know that. And then Soul comes over. Leave. I'm leaving. You say the words. They seem to carry your heart out of your mouth with them. You feel lightheaded, spinning, as if you tumbled out of the bay into open space. Soul nods. Come on then, let's go. You freeze for a moment, feeling Peak's presence beside you, and the moment to speak disappears. I'm sorry, Peak. Peak shakes their head. I understand, Sleeper. They pause. I hope you find a home someday. This particular one is just particularly well. Yeah, it's just that this one is a high grade and a great example of the form. And then you're walking with Soul across the bay, almost without trying. Your step light and your head spinning. Soul grips your hand to help you up onto the shuttle ramp, and as he does, you feel the thick texture of his worn hands in great detail, as if you were touching some cratered landscape. You grip them tightly as you get on board. As the ramp begins to close, you see Peak watching at a distance, their face half covered by their hair. They raise a hand in farewell, and as they do, you see something in their expression you can't quite place. A sense of determination, perhaps, or a compressed anger. Something that'll drive them forward from this point on, to a future you believe can be better. High art, but make it Vidya Games! And then the shuttle ramp closes, and the mailbox you are inside rumbles and tilts. Some of the evacuees with you screech at the sudden movement, but they settle as the ship carves its way out of the bay towards the flotilla, towards whatever comes next. When you arrive, you'll find a berth, just as Soul promised, tucked in among hundreds of others like a strange neighborhood of tiny flats. The communal canteens, the water supply, the farm stacks, these shared spaces will become the center of this new reality. The places where stories are shared, where signals and messages from the ships of the system and the Eye itself are interpreted and discussed. You'll find yourself unable to resist listening in to any conversation about the Eye, any scrap of data or detail. This is how you'll hear that another Flex event hit not long after the flotilla left, one that knocked out the power for the entire free spoke, they say, disconnecting the hub from the rim for many cycles. One that crippled many systems, and cost many lives. But the flotilla, having departed with enough time, will outrun the flux, and you and all the evacuees will be thankful for this mercy. You also hear of the strange growths that people started reporting around the station in the wake of the event, fungal crusts that pushed through pipes and wiring. Rumors of the Eye going wild and fecund will travel quickly around the Pilgrim Seed. Great, we get to say fecund again. Telling stories of a station of increasingly unpredictability, prone to a seasonal rhythm of spore clouds and southern growth spurts. As your long journey across the system becomes a dull routine of the same faces and places, you will delight to overhear that the Eye persists despite everything, that crippling systems are rebooted and replaced, that the new seasons of growth and decay bring with them a plenitude of resources and surprises. You will hear that Havenage's hardliners have fizzled out, losing their grip on the Havenage Council, and their way Colleen will spearhead a series of reforms that will scale back Havenage's overreach, returning them to the caretaker role they'd always intended to fulfill. And after a long time, you'll find the stories of the Eye become less, the signals and messages fewer, replaced instead by a new array of broadcasts, this time from Setnet Stat, stating legal precedents and quoting deeds of ownership, staking a claim on the system. These messages will set the rumor mill of Pilgrim Seed spinning, and you will rarely have a moment where you don't hear mention of a company and its claims. Occasionally on a long trip, you'll make a pilgrimage to the dust houses on a supply shuttle, and gather clubheads from among the mulch. You'll talk with Aki as they're processing the stabilizer and hear of how the plants are changing, adapting, becoming ever intertwined in this new and unprecedented ecosystem. And then in the final part of your journey, as you reach the far parts of the system where few signals travel, and the starboard belt girds the system like a defensive ring, there will be distant reports of another fleet entering the system under the banner of the all-too-familiar Conway Extractions. By the time this happens, you and the evacuees will begin to discuss these events less and less, perhaps in hope of avoiding being implicated in the coming corporate war. And finally, one cycle far from this moment, you will arrive at an asteroid port in the starboard belt, one you have yet to know, and you and all the evacuees will be released into. In that moment, half a system and hundreds of cycles away from the Eye, you'll think back on your time there with equal sadness and fondness. And then you will step out of the Pilgrim Seed never to return, and once more try to make a future for yourself that might be different to those false futures promised to you so many times. But for now, you remain on the shuttle, angling its way towards the base of the Pilgrim Seed, carrying the hopes of all who tremble quietly within. And in this moment, you feel the Eye release you, just as Eshe released Peak. It feels so good. So, yeah, that gives us a very strong spot if they decide to make a sequel. You know, the eye is as it is. The gardener is released. These strange and fecund growths exist. I don't know much about anime. This whole thing feels like it would fit well in the Cowboy Bebop universe. Yeah, I think so. I think this is a good fit. They're close enough. I see that. I don't remember if Cowboy Bebop had like full like AI automatons, but you know, listen, it just didn't come up in the show. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like, it just didn't come up. We just didn't have one. But yeah, I think now I want them to have a sequel. Rampant space capitalism, vigilantes galore. Yeah, I think I would enjoy a sequel. And if not, if they decide to do something else, then that's good too. That's good too. Not every story needs a return. Yeah. I would enjoy a sequel, but if they do something else, I would understand. But that's Citizen Sleeper. That's that. Yeah, goodness gracious. I don't know what to say. This was incredible. We obviously won't be playing this on Friday. We'll be starting something new, so look forward to that. Thank you to everybody that was here for this. Thank you again to Double Jump for the key. Absolutely amazing to finally experience that. All of this will go up on YouTube eventually. If you want to experience this game yourself, it's available on, I believe, every platform and Xbox Game Pass. Check it out. If you watch the whole thing, still buy it. Still buy a copy. Pogo springtime news reminder. Ooh, who doesn't listen? Sometimes you need a reminder on the news. But Shaman special research starts today. Oh yeah, that's true. If you didn't get the ticket for Pogo Tour, you can get the Shaman research. So definitely make sure you do that. Completion, yes, we have completed. Which, you know, everybody loves that. Everybody loves a good complete. Oh, we're gonna rate Josh. Intelligame is playing Arcana of Paradise. I don't know what this game is. But if Intelligame's playing it, it's got to be pretty good. Excuse me. It's probably pretty good. I'll be back tomorrow with a new game. I think I know what it is. But we'll see. Maybe we have a little casual Friday and we start something on Monday. We'll see. I hope everybody has a good rest of your day. Thank you again, as always, to everybody for being here, for hanging out and spending time with me. Hopefully you have you enjoyed the game. And you know, if you're lurking, thank you for lurking. Thank you for making me part of your day. I'm gonna go have some food and probably relax a little bit today. I'm gonna take a little time for myself. But until tomorrow, take care of yourself. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you tomorrow.